Hi. So I pulled over on my way home from the dentist to record this video. I'm not sure what's going to come through. So here we go. Yeah. So I just kind of am going to give a commentary on what I feel like is happening in society and my own experience of that. And maybe somebody will appreciate it, maybe you won't, but I feel compelled to share it because it's so obvious now to me that what's happening is not going to go away. It's not like we're going back to any kind of normal in the way we were before. And I think that all had to happen. I think it's a purposeful time. It's stressful. It's chaotic. It can be scary. And I think teasing out what is reality, what our perceptions have led us to see in this, and what we're being told, and just to me, it speaks of the shadow. It speaks of how interwoven, dark and the interweaving of dark and light, the tapestry of our lives, and how we have to look at the shadow within in order to understand the shadow without. We have to kind of go down and expunge and just sit with, and I want to say, get to the point where we can sit and have a conversation with who we were when we were either obviously perpetuating the shadow, or even in some subtle ways. I think life is complicated, it gets messy, and we're subject to a lot of programming where we were taught to act and proceed in a certain way when maybe it wasn't necessarily for our benefit. And I'm not saying that the person or the entity perpetuating these programs are all, to blame either. I think it's just so complicated because we've just gotten pulled in so many ways, and people are, in many cases, doing the best they can to work towards the greater good. I really believe that people in their hearts overall are good, and we've clouded the lens in so many ways that we're not even aware of. So I guess you're probably like, how the crap does she even know this, and why is she qualified to speak on this? And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably not. So you can shut it off and tell me to go away, and or whatever. Just I'm going to say that my lived experience has led me to believe that I am, or I know I am, confident enough to talk about this. Right now, I'm going to just label myself as a MassHealth mom. Um, I use MassHealth. I do not have a formal job right now. I have many jobs. I worked under the table, above the table, trying to make ends meet, turn down jobs, turn down opportunities because the energetic needs of, I guess, are the situation that we are all living in, myself and my children, and the ongoing intense needs of someone that has a complicated chronic illness that I discovered was further complicated in many ways by our systems of care. Not to say that I am not grateful or I do not appreciate or understand why. I think, like I said, I'm going to go back to baseline, that in many ways, the people believe they're working towards the greater good. And in small pockets, I think of course they are. And it's just what I had to discover through my lived experience of raising these offspring that have had these chronic illnesses, and really been to get to the point where I had to reach out for help. I had to lean on the social services. I had to lean on the systems of care. So I have experienced firsthand many different aspects of broken systems that have personally affected them, or that have personally affected me and affected them. And it gets really complicated and heavy over time. And I would say that after kind of waking up in 2012, going through alcohol treatment and rehab, and just immersed in quote unquote recovery, and jumping in to try to make up for the lost time when I wasn't as, I was following other less than conscious programming, and wasn't able to be in the best parenting mode. I mean, I was still there. And yeah, so going back and realizing that probably happened in many ways, many variables, but what isn't talked about is how damaging that is to the person that's living through it. And I want to say, from a shadow element, to come back and self-forgive when you have children involved, that have, seriously experienced consequences of your behavior, as well as consequences of systems behaviors, as well as consequences of, um, lack of understanding and perception in society of what's important. And that breaks down to, really, to me, I've talked about it before, is unconditional love. And it might sound woo-woo, and, I think it's any kind of love, really. It starts, I think, love is unconditional by nature. So wherever we find it in those moments, without attaching all the surrounding experiences that we're having at that moment to it, and thinking that we only are going to get it in said experience, and setting our lives up to facilitate more than that, is completely understandable, but it's not a long-term sustainable. So finding love in every single area, in the moments, in presence. So anyways, back to the dentist. So I freaking had to make a dentist appointment. As a MassHealth mom, I've let my dental care go. You don't get great benefits in any dental insurance program, and MassHealth is really, I think, on par with that. And of course I'm grateful, but I also know that I don't think it's right or fair that the people that often don't have resources are subject to less than ideal care, especially when knowledge is out there and documented that certain ways of treating things are less than ideal. I think that's the shadow infiltrating our systems, and it's better than nothing. But really, we really have to start asking ourselves, is that okay? Is that okay that there's so many of us living in these circumstances with just so many variables at play that we have no control over? And no matter how we got here, whether you want to look at it and blame somebody or blame some particular aspect of whoever is in these circumstances, I'm talking dependent on systems. A lot of people dependent on systems have been subject to variables, which in many ways, it's just not fair. I'm always out for the underdog personally, because I guess, I set my life up to learn from underdog experiences. And I refuse to not talk about that, because I feel like there's so many of us who have lived lives where we come back and we're subject to a lot of our own judgment based on programming that we really kind of have to work through. And it's a long process. So I go to the dentist. Yeah, great. I had a tooth that I noticed a filling came out of it. And dental work with MassHealth is like, I've had teeth pulled that probably could have been saved, but I had to make the decision of how much I was going to lean on the support network I had. It's like you're balancing these variables. Like, how important am I? How much can I ask after I have played with the shadow and whatnot? And it's all, I think, if I have to look at it as purposeful, I believe that I plan these experiences for stepping into soul's purpose. And so I'm like, wow, I let myself go into these places where there wasn't a lot of light, and still have walked through that, and here I am. So I guess I'm just owning that, and this journey that I've been on, I'm learning how valuable we are, and how often we're taught not to value ourselves. And I think I can exemplify that. I didn't value myself enough to say, hey, look, I'm down here doing this work. I'm taking care of these kids. I can't get a job because I will be pulled away from what needs more attention than we even have any understanding of. So even though I felt like I could go through the process of getting jobs, yeah, no way. I remember sitting in my car when I got a job offer that I had applied for and thought I could do, and looking up at my falling down apartment and thinking about my kids in there. My boyfriend had moved in at that time, and everybody was expecting me to take this job, and I was like, I can't do it. I know the energetic experience too well, and I don't feel confident that there's any scaffolding in place. If I walk out of here and give my energy to this other position within the government, a government, service provider, which would require a lot of real energetics, I don't think I would be able to walk through it. Perhaps I believe that was my higher self telling me no. So I turned that down, and I dropped out of going back to become an addiction counselor because things in our lives were just, behaviors were cropping up, and this is an ongoing thing. These things are still happening, and my kids are not to blame. And I want all the TSC moms out there and all the parents, special needs parents, you got to take the blame off of anybody. You got to take the blame off of yourself, and you got to take the blame off of your kid. You're in a messed up society that doesn't understand unconditional love. Do you hear that? Get down off the cross. Forgive yourself for every freaking thing you did before you had the special needs kid. What the things that you did to survive while you were parenting, forgive it all. Go back and figure out how to do it, because I feel like until you start that process, we're really just perpetuating a lot of cycles that aren't as healthy as they should be. That is my experience. So someone else might see it from a different way. So I go to the dentist, and it's my MassHealth dentist, and he's been nice. They've been supportive. I think when I was running the marathon and stuff, they were really supportive. So, in helping me with my teeth, I've had teeth pulled that, like I said, probably could have saved, but I didn't want to make a fuss. I was like, okay, I got all this stuff going on. I'm not asking anybody else for money. I don't want to build up any debt. I can take this hit. And, I know root canals are not ideal either. We've learned so much about dental care and the whole integration of the human body. So I go in and I'm like, I lost this filling, and I was getting an appointment very quickly. So I appreciated that. And the minute I walked in, pretty much they asked me if I was vaccinated. And I'm not going to make a comment about whether I am or am not, because it's not really about that. So I sit down and I'm like, wow, that's how it goes. And they were really nice, I'm sure that they have to ask that. I'm not sure what that is. And then I believe it was asked of me 3 or 4 times while I was there. They confirmed that, are you or aren't you? And I kept my mask on, and I was like, I guess I felt like each time, like, I don't know what they were expecting of me to say, but I felt just the weight of what I used to experience there, which was a lot of guilt and shame, because here I felt like I was at the bottom. I had to have my teeth pulled. I didn't know how to ask for help for, financial reasons. I didn't want to owe anybody money. I knew I couldn't work to pay it back. I had to take care of my kids. And, of course, I chose all these circumstances. So, yeah, so it was hitting me a little bit in the dentist's office, but I'm like, they did the x-ray, and he puts cotton in my mouth, like getting ready to set up to fix it. And I'm like, well, are you going to be using the metal stuff? I had to take the cotton out of my mouth to ask this, because they didn't give me any choice. I know that the metal stuff can be problematic, and I didn't want the metal stuff. So I wasn't sure if MassHealth would or wouldn't cover it. So I was out on a limb here, and my boyfriend had told me, go ahead and get it fixed, whatever it costs, I've got it. If you don't want the metal in your mouth, don't have the metal in your mouth. Like, holy shit, babe, I love you. And I love myself enough to say, yes, I don't want the metal in my mouth. So I told him, and he's like, he tries to give me, or, he tells me that it might be more conflictual because it's a deep filling, and basically trying to sell me on the metal, because that's what he had, come to find out. So he's like, I'm pretty determined, no, I don't want it. So he's like, well, I'll give you your x-ray and we'll refer you to another MassHealth dentist that will do it. So I guess he's the bottom of the barrel. Like, if you go in there, you better know you're going to get the metal. And the poor people that go in there, that don't have the lived experience I do, to know that this is a bunch of crap, and they should really demand better, but they're too beaten down to do that, and don't love themselves enough, and for all the wrong reasons. And there's so many variables that are keeping people down, and we're just the easy freaking prey. And I feel like, because I've been in these low down circumstances, and that I'm grateful for so long, and kept my sanity, even though it's questionable at times, that I am freaking going to talk about it now. And what we're doing to everybody at all different levels, including ourselves, with these systems that are modeled with gray, and the people that work in them are trapped in these systems. And, I think this dentist actually really cares and really tries to help people. I feel like it's like that in a lot of situations. When I went for my physical, that was the first thing I was asked as well, as was whether I was vaccinated. So I guess, that's how it is. That's how it is right now, and I don't like it, but I also know that it's kind of things are coming up through the cracks that are helpful for society at large to get their heads around. Just how we aren't better or worse. We are all the victim and the perpetrator. We all are subject to variables that we may or may not be aware of. Many that we know are unjust. I think we just need to give ourselves a break. That's what I think. So that's what I'm doing. I said no to the freaking metal, and now I have a referral to another MassHealth dentist to get the composite in my filling that came out. And I'm patting myself on the back for being gutsy enough to tell him that I didn't want it, because it would have been so easy to just get the metal and say whatever, but I feel like I can't do it. So it's this process of awakening to the little steps we can take in our lives that empower us. I'm not going to fix this whole problem in the world single-handedly. No one is. We're all part of it. And we gotta honor it and love it where we're at, meet it where we're at, and do the best we can. I love you.